Okay, cool. Let's kick off. So first I want to say hi. My name is Jason Baskaran. I work at GetAccept, and thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules and joining us here today for our panel discussion on effective recruitment in remote times. Let's start by sharing a little bit about the agenda in terms of what we're going to go through over the next 30 minutes, and we're going to finish promptly at 12 o'clock. But what I'd say is, ask questions in the chat section on the side, answer our polls, and let's make this as interactive as we can. So first, we're going to talk about the challenges within the recruitment process. We're going to go on to the opportunities that arise, as strange as times can be and as much of an impact as we can be going through right now. There's always green shoots of recovery, and there's always opportunities to be had. We'll discuss that in some more detail. Thirdly, we'll move on to the impact of the employee lifecycle. How do you hire? How do you onboard? How do you maybe promote or maybe exit somebody from a company in an effective and ethical HR manner? Fourth and finally, where we'll end our panel discussion, is talking about what could the future of HR look like. It's a bit of kind of navel gazing and looking into the future and seeing what may happen. So it'd be really cool to hear from our guests in terms of what the future could be. And then finally, at the end, of course, questions that we've had asked to us before the presentation today and also during the panel discussion. But before we get going, I'll just introduce myself very, very briefly. Jason Baskaran is my name again. I am a customer success manager here at GetAccept, been with the company since the beginning of 2020. So I've been living in these remote times pretty much since the start. My focus is on helping businesses to modernize, digitize, and make more effective their workflow process from a hiring and also from a sales enablement perspective. Enough about me. Let us hear from our guests today. And Johanna, if you can introduce yourself, your role, and also what you are going to bring to our discussion today, that'd be great.
Yes, thank you, Jason. So my name is Johanna, and I work as an HR coordinator here at GetAccept. And I spend a lot of my time recruiting new talents to GetAccept and also pre-boarding and onboarding them to the company. So very passionate about talent acquisition and recruitment, especially using tech and data-driven processes doing so. So hopefully we'll get a little bit of insight in that perspective.
Fantastic. Looking forward to hearing more. Jonas, please go next. Introduce yourself, your role, and also, I guess, what you're hoping to bring to this panel discussion. That'd be great.
Yeah, thank you. So my name is Jonas, and I've been working for Sympa for almost 5 years. I have my background on the consulting side, which Tuomas is probably gonna bring up in his presentation. But now for almost over a year, I've been managing our support operations. So I'm managing and responsible for the daily stuff and also developing our team going forward. So hopefully, since most of my recruitment experience is now during this pandemic time and remote interviews, remote onboarding, everything. So I'm hopeful that I'm able to bring some key insights and learnings from my own experiences into the discussion here.
Cool, fantastic. Looking forward to learning more. Thank you, Jonas. And Tuomas, over to you. If you can introduce yourself, your role, and of course, what you can hopefully bring to this discussion, that'd be fantastic.
Yes, thanks, Jason. So, hi all, name is Tuomas, and I'm in charge of our customer onboarding business at Sympa. So, making sure that our customers are happy after they've gone through the implementation phase. And I've been working for Sympa already 9 years, first as an implementation consultant, and now for the past 5 years managing the teams. And as Jonas mentioned, Jonas started in one of my teams. And I've recruited around 30 implementation consultants and specialists during these years. And now, of course, had a lot of remote recruitments actually ongoing at the moment. And just briefly about Sympa, we're the fastest growing HR solution provider in the Nordics, so offering a SaaS platform for the whole employee lifecycle. And we operate in 5 countries today. It's 130 Sympaticos, but we're growing fast, and there are a lot of ongoing recruitment processes, and also a lookout for new markets. So really growing fast.
Cool, fantastic. Thank you so much, Tuomas, Jonas, and Johanna. Before we get into the discussion, just very briefly about GetAccept. We've been in existence since 2015. We've had a really fast start, which has been fantastic, and it's been pretty much centered on how we help HR departments to recruit, onboard, and make sure they look after their employees in an effective and also digital way. As well as this, we also help sales teams to grow their customer base, give a much better experience to their customer. And we do this not only through our platform, but also through our fantastic integrations that we have with the likes of Sympa as well. So if you're considering a platform to help your business to become more modern, especially in these times, this is definitely a good place to start that discussion. Let's get into it, speaking of discussion. And in fact, I'm going to pick on you, Johanna. I'm going to ask you this question first in terms of, what are the challenges today with the recruitment process? And I think it'd be great to hear your experience, especially as an HR representative of this.
Yes, well, thank you. So first of all, I think many organizations had to adopt to a fully remote recruitment process with basically no pre-planning or planning at all. So that alone, I think, proposes a big challenge, especially if you didn't have a recruitment software or an HR software. That puts a lot of stress on HR representatives and recruiters. Also, we can see some shifts in the labor markets, which increase the number of applicants, which also makes it difficult maybe, or puts some stress on recruiters or HR representatives in terms of selecting the right candidates. It really makes us the need for a good recruitment tool and an HR system is bigger than ever, I feel.
No, that's interesting. That's interesting. I mean, for you, Tuomas and Jonas, I mean, I think it's just something interesting there, Johanna, in terms of, this was kind of unplanned for, this just happened, and you kind of, you're thrown into hot water and you have to deal with it. But for Tuomas and Jonas, what have been the conversations that you've had with kind of clients? Have they been in a kind of panic mode, or has this always been on the agenda to kind of digitize their HR processes? How has the experience been for you guys?
Well, if I want to start just from a sort of bigger perspective, I think that having a proper tool, the first actually bigger impact was the GDPR already a year and a half ago, when sort of the systems were really put on the table, and you need a proper tool for the data security reasons. But now, of course, the current pandemic situation sort of raised the recruitment tool on the table, that you really don't want to get the applications through email and all that sort of manual stuff. So you really need the tool. And one thing that I sort of grasp on from Johanna is the sort of having a lot of applicants or not having good applicants. Definitely, we have already seen it that it varies. There are a lot of movement in the market, in that sense that there are a lot of applicants. At least we have received like double the amount.
Wow. Okay.
But the quality sort of is not that good as it used to be. But it's also, there's the challenge that are we actually sort of losing some of the top talents that are not so tech savvy, or otherwise the applications are not sort of, they're not used to making video use or video sort of sessions or anything like that, or fancy applications. So it might be that we're actually not even looking into the top talents, at least in some businesses.
Very interesting.
Fill me in.
Yeah. So to coming back to Johanna's topics about, I think this kind of relates to how mature the HR department has already been, and I think we've seen it kind of like going forward over the past years. But I think it's a pretty, I saw that it was a pretty easy step for some organizations in the spring when they had the fundamentals in place, the HR system, recruitment software, so they could only just adjust those to fit this new situation in a somewhat light way. But then you of course had those organizations where these were not in place, so it was a bit of a large obstacle to face when stuff happened pretty much within weeks, so to say. But I think, as Tuomas said, I think the talent pool idea is one thing that has definitely changed. So there might be suddenly a lot of applicants applying for these positions compared to before. But I think also it has probably, adjusted or changed the type of talent that we are receiving. So, if we think about the crisis situation, I think a lot of these top talents who regularly switch jobs and look for new opportunities, I think the financial survival, this kind of unstable situation has prevented them from actually applying. They just feel that it's safer to stay where you are and go over, get over the crisis first and then see what happens.
Super interesting points. I think it's really interesting having a kind of experience from HR perspective, kind of being thrown into this hot water, and then how the talent pool is maybe staying stuck in some areas, and maybe that's the top talent you really want to attract, especially in these kind of trying times. And then maybe the pool is maybe not the high quality, or maybe they don't even know how to interact in the right way. So that could even be a topic for another time. Super interesting. Just to remind the audience watching today, please ask questions. Please do respond to the poll. It'd be great to have your interactivity there. Let's move into our second point: opportunities that arise in HR. Whenever you have something forced upon you, and this is absolutely unplanned, as Johanna said. What kind of opportunities have you seen come out of this? I mean, I can talk about some from a GetAccept side, but I'd love to hear from an HR perspective of what are the green shoots? What are the good things? What have you learned from this that you can share with the audience today?
Sorry, did you ask me?
No, I mean, you can answer. I mean, anyone can go first, but I just think it'd be fun to know what are the opportunities that have come out of this.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to look at being more data-driven from an HR perspective, looking at how can we use software and data in terms of working with HR in a whole, both when it comes to recruitment, how can we use assessment tools and use data in selecting candidates, but also maybe when it comes to employee engagement, when we are not able to meet each other, it's more important than ever to get a sense of the organization and the well-being of the employees. And maybe we can use software to measure that and use data in HR in a way which we might not have been able to do before.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I would say, at least from the perspective of a hiring manager, so to say, I think, at least the operational side has become much more, at least easy for me and much more efficient in a sense when we have all the kind of modern digital tools in use, so that, if I compare it to the ones that I hired before the crisis, there were only a few, but basically, even booking an interview was usually done for the next week or maybe in a few weeks. And it was a lot of hassle to kind of find the right time, when compared to now, I can pretty much book it for tomorrow morning, if that's possible. And I think even for the candidates, it's easier, if they're already working somewhere, to kind of take an hour somewhere else and come into the interview in a sense. So I think it has, fastened up the process, at least for me, quite a lot.
Just to interject there, could be a risk for businesses, talk about kind of top talent being stuck, or maybe kind of riding out the pandemic to kind of, be safe and perform where they are in whatever role they're in. It could also open the opportunity that actually, they're in their home environment. If they have half an hour, an hour, they can actually have a very private conversation, or actually take that discussion. So maybe there's an opportunity, actually, maybe not in favor completely of retaining staff, but it could be an opportunity for poaching, just a suggestion.
Exactly. And I think then if Tuomas, go ahead, I can fill in afterwards.
Yeah, just sort of one of the opportunities here, what comes to the I think sort of more fast-paced recruitment and the easiness of sort of getting people to talk to you through video is actually something that will balance out the challenge that we have, not meeting the persons face to face and not being able to sort of read the body language and have the personal connection. It's actually quite easy to let's say after an online interview, you start to think that, okay, there were some questions that sort of I still need the answer to. You can go to the applicant and let's have a 10-minute online coffee and let's sort of talk tomorrow. So that's really, really, really easy compared to the traditional sort of on-site interviews.
It's quite nice. There's a couple of things there. You got kind of using data more effectively, and then you've also got I'm getting from you guys, Jonas and Tuomas, the speed or the agility that you now have to engage or question or probe virtually becomes a lot higher and faster than saying, hey, can you come into our office and take a bus or a train or book that time. So that is super interesting. Was there something else you're going to add on there, Jonas?
Yeah, and I think related to to us, Sympa and GetAccept, I think one kind of clear kind of win or benefit that I've received is the kind of signing process as well, because that's usually been as well one part that we have a verbal agreement and then we agree that stop by next Friday and we'll have coffee and then we're supposed to sign the contract. Now I can just pretty much push it through right away after we have the verbal agreement, and then in most cases I've been getting signature right away. So I'm able to kind of kick things off internally, the pre-boarding activities, informing the organization. I think for me, it's just been much easier to handle the operational side with the recruitments.
Definitely so. That's pretty cool. And I think that's a benefit not only for you as an employer, but also for an employee or future employee coming on board.
Yeah.
I just had a flashback actually to almost 20 years ago of getting a bus to my first employer, waiting in reception, coming in to sign a load of papers, nervously, even though I'd got the job, walking through the office saying hi to everyone, and then realizing I'm going to start somewhere. So maybe we can kind of take that away from people now. And
but we lose the engagement and sort of the expectations and the sort of meeting the team, the office, and giving some gifts or Sympa logo bottles or these type of things that we tend to do. And now it's especially in Sweden, it can take 3 months from the signing to actually start.
Yeah, it does.
And you don't even meet the person in the signing, so it's a really long time.
It is a new world, and in fact, I think this is a great segue to our third and penultimate topic of what is the impact on the employee lifecycle journey that we have today. How do you feel that it's changed? I think it'd be nice to kind of not just talk about maybe some of the things that we maybe miss, but actually what is the benefit? What have we learned from this that we can also take with us in when things stabilize and become a little bit more normal, should we say?
Well, I think at least the first one would be, what kind of talent do you want to attract and how to attract that talent? Like I said, the talent pool might be a lot different now than it was before. And I would say that these typical things that you see in job ads, like, we have these great office spaces and, we do a lot of stuff together, that doesn't really play any role now. So I think, for me also, I've had to adjust like my kind of bullet points in the discussions and, what to bring up, how to convert the job ads to fit this current situation, because for us as well, we have a football table in every office, but that's not really a strength this year to invite people to play football. So and also I would say that there are other elements that the crisis has brought forward, like the corporate social responsibility, everything.
Yep.
I think employees are much more, millennials have done this, I would say, all the time, but I think all the employees are now really looking into like, how does the employer really handle these employee relations? How flexible are they? How supportive are they? Especially in these crisis times, because and I think it relates to all steps in the journey, but I think what employees really value now is not just the salary or not just the challenges within the position, but they want some longevity, something that feels secure, something where they can feel safe and be there for years to come.
Super interesting. Just to interject, I had a conversation with someone who's actually looking for work just the other week, and his expectation is absolute flexibility, absolute remote working. The chance that if he needs to come into the office or wants to come into the office, that's up to him. It's not obligatory. So I think it's gonna be really interesting to see what is that selling point? Like you say, you don't have a kind of what do you call a foosball table or a hockey table to play on. So actually, what are you going to offer these people to come on board? Super interesting. Were you going to add something, Johanna, on that, or Tuomas?
Yeah, I think it's from my perspective, who works a lot with like onboarding new people to GetAccept. I think it's interesting looking at the pre-boarding process and the onboarding process done digitally today. I think there is a lot to do. We have a lot. We can work a lot with pre-boarding or nurturing candidate relationship during the time after they signed and before they start, to really get them to feel welcomed. And especially when you're new to a company, you want to feel included and welcomed and be a part of the team and understanding the organization. And that is challenging in these times if you're not able to be at the office and get these like interactions with your colleagues. So I think from our perspective, there's so much to do in terms of nurturing or establishing a good relationship before that employee starts and during the onboarding time. I think we can do a lot with personal and engaging and just digital communication and interaction. So we use a lot of video greetings, and I think that is a good way of like sending out greetings from the team or from me or the hiring manager to sort of get that person to feel very welcomed before even starting at the company.
What we've been doing is that in our consultancy team, we have morning coffee each morning, 30 minutes. and that's a sort of big I don't know, sacrifice, but time-wise, it's of course 10 people meeting every morning for 30 minutes, drinking coffee, talking, well, nonsense and business. It works both ways. It's having fun, and for the newcomers, that has been sort of the key thing, to get to know the people, to sort of meet them every morning. Well, not everyone can participate each morning, but that's the place to meet the team.
Definitely,
and that has worked really well.
No, really interesting. I'll just say, at least from GetAccept's perspective, we have a person called Stephanie, who's our culture hero, and I actually think you kind of need these culture ambassadors to kind of drive through a new digital culture actually in the future. How do they kind of organize people, whether it is a morning coffee or maybe quiz nights or team get-togethers virtually? I think it's really important to keep that going and avoid. I've actually seen a few LinkedIn posts where people feel it's becoming maybe a little bit too much on work tasks rather than that togetherness that you would naturally get.
And that, we also have the sort of the tutor on top of that. And of course, these morning coffees, for me as a manager, it's sort of, that's important place to feel the HR pulse, so sort of feel the team, how they're doing. And this, of course, the whole sort of the impact for the employee lifecycle, it brings us to the leadership challenge, how to build trust, because now remote working, it sort of everything needs to be built upon the trust, and sort of how to maintain that, and how to create the sort of psychologically safe environment for the team to give ideas and innovate, and not to be sort of scared on sort of the comments. So that's a challenge, and it really needs the proactiveness in the leadership from each manager, and what we've seen is that some managers are shining today with the remote world, and some are basically losing the touch and the power. That's of course an interesting topic. That
super interesting. Again, I've had this conversation outside. It's like I think businesses are going to start to look for a different profile of people. Can you be effective digitally? Can you work and lead and inspire and take care of people remotely? But also, can you do your job effectively remotely? So it's a very interesting world we're going to step into. I think people will specialize somewhere, or maybe they'll find another groove somewhere else. But let's move on to our fourth and final topic as we kind of approach the last quarter of this panel discussion. But actually, this is a great segue again. So, what could the future of HR look like to you? What are your guesses or hypothesis, or maybe even wishes for what the future looks like? And again, Joanna, I'm going to pick on you because you're HR representing here, and I think it'd be fantastic to hear from you what you think on this particular topic.
Absolutely. So I just, as I mentioned before, I think HR will be much more data driven. And I think that uprise of tech within talent acquisition and HR that we can see today is everything from chatbots to recruiting robots to software to measure employee engagement. I think they are here to stay. So I think it will be a much more data-driven HR moving into the future. And I think that is a good thing, definitely.
And I think also related to the topics we were discussing, but I'm guessing that HR or companies in general were never going to go back to 100% how things were before. And I think traveling, that's a pretty clear message to the top management. If you save millions of euros for people not traveling, and you get the same results from online meetings, I think that will be the thing to go with in the future. But like Johanna said, I think the tech side is going to be, key going forward. And I think, thinking about HR's role in general, I think HR still, I would consider it as a rather young area or department in a sense that, at least historically, HR hasn't been viewed as like strategic business critical function. But I think what the crisis has really shown is that it actually is. And I think we can see clear like winners and losers, thinking about companies who had a very mature HR, modernized and tech-driven, data-driven HR compared to then the more old-fashioned ones, for sure.
And what we see already from sort of our customers is this sort of the tech side, and sort of if we look at the titles that we have in HR, we start to have business partners and this type of titles. And then on the other track, we have people and culture and talent development, and it starts to be sort of going to sort of two directions from the traditional HR manager or HR director.
So I would say that what we are doing in Sympa, and you are doing in GetAccept, I think, what companies are trying to do now is to, automate and do a tech solution for the HRM side and give more space to the HR development, being the strategic partner. Of course, it is a challenge now for HR department because it's not something that, people just invite you to be a strategic decision maker. You got to earn that right, and you got to earn that place. So I think with mature organizations and HR departments, if you are able to show, actual outcomes, results, benefits from the stuff you're doing, you will earn that place for sure.
Definitely so.
And the culture side, what we see, the culture to sort of to shine on these times, and I think it comes to the sort of purpose-driven culture. Every employee needs the purpose. Why they are sitting on their kitchen and doing that stuff? They could do something else. So we all need the purpose.
Yeah, really cool.
Really
cool insights. Go ahead, Johanna.
Yeah, I think it's interesting also because I think what you're scared of when sort of using automated processes or tech is losing the human connection. So how we can sort of combine being very human and close to each other, but not being able to meet. So sort of finding that balance between automated processes using tech, but also keeping that closeness between each other and building relationships and trust and loyalty. And that's an interesting intersection moving into the future.
Really cool, really cool. I think you can boil it down to kind of 3 points. You need to make sure you have, the people, the process, and the platforms as well. Those three P's to make sure that you are, being effective in these new times with HR. And as we know, HR isn't just about hiring and making sure everyone's okay. There's a heck of a lot more to it. So hopefully our tech platforms can lead the way. We've got just a few minutes left for questions. I just want to say I think it's been really interesting hearing from all of you in terms of your insights on these 4 topics. Really insightful. I've personally learned a lot today. I think we have time for pretty much maybe one question, and I'm going to pick on one which I think will suit a kind of a concise answer. This is what are the benefits of having remote recruitment? I think we touched on it a little bit, but I think it'd be nice to kind of go a little bit deeper. What have you seen maybe from an HR perspective or from a platform perspective? What are the benefits of working or hiring remotely?
Well, as we mentioned before, from an efficiency perspective, we would save a lot of time, as you mentioned before, Jonas and also Tuomas. So I think that is a big benefit. I also think that it helps us, we didn't talk that much about this, but it helps us also being a little bit more unbiased in terms of recruitment, actually. And using tech and software can actually help us choose the right candidates if we use maybe tests to assess potential and competencies. And not being able to meet actually helps us being more objective in terms of recruitment, which I also think is beneficial. Super, super cool.
Anything you'd like to add to that, Jonas and Tuomas?
Just sort of one thing that we've seen that sort of thinking of the talent pool and the people who apply for us, this remote times has sort of enabled many good applicants to apply from different cities or countries to a position that they wouldn't have applied before. So it's sort of, from our perspective, it has expanded the area where the applicants are applying. So that's a positive thing.
Yeah, I think with all, I wouldn't need to say like crisis, but all like major changes in the world or in the business, I think it's a good opportunity to also critically view what we're doing now. So I think what this crisis has brought forward is a lot of like critical eye on what we're doing, what is actually necessary, what should we actually focus on, and I think the same relates to the recruitment. But what are we actually looking for? Does this actually require physical presence at the office, or could we expand, like Tuomas said, could we expand our focus group into other countries, for example, and maybe find a lot better talent from that side.
Really, really interesting. I love that last point. I think just go back to kind of the navel gazing or looking for the future. I think the talent pool all of a sudden becomes incredibly large, rather than just a specific town. Do you have a kind of, an HR guru or sales, superstar, in the middle of the woods in a remote place somewhere that all of a sudden is very, very available for you and kind of fits into your culture and your business. And I think when we're hit with crisis, whether it's a financial or in this case, a viral outbreak that we're dealing with, I think this is where people, process and tech really starts to shine, and we take the kind of next leap forward in our business. We've gone through 4 exciting topics, which is the challenges within the recruitment process, the opportunities that arise and those kind of green shoots that come out of testing times, the impact on the employee lifecycle journey, and how we can make people feel part of the team culture, and maybe move away from kind of foosball tables and coffee at the office to maybe a more remote way of giving value to our employees. And then finally, we looked at what the future could be, and we touched on some interesting topics regarding the availability of people and also spending on the talent pool. I just want to say thank you very much to Johanna, Tuomas, and Jonas. I really appreciate your time, your insight, and your availability. And to all of our guests that joined over this half an hour, I hope you found it of use. Thank you for taking part in the questions and the poll. And if you have any questions, queries, or ideas for either Sympa or GetAccept, please go to our website, get in touch, and we'd absolutely love to assist you in these weird and wonderful times. Until then, I'll end this panel discussion. So thank you very much. Have a great day. Stay safe. Take care, and goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.